the legislature as a whole. It is our understanding that you may be contesting for the speakership, which we'll talk about later. But we want to know, who is this man desirous of becoming Speaker of the House of Representatives? Who is it?
I generally don't like to toot my own horn. I am a man, a human, just as flawed as any other, maybe even more so. But I have come this way and I've taken this journey into political life in Liberia, both from the executive. I started off as Minister of State with our portfolio. If you remember, and sometimes our memories are short in Liberia, I was the head of the Presidential Task Force. I prosecuted a civil mining case. I moved on to the legislature in 2017, 2018, where I served first as chair on judiciary and then next as deputy speaker. I bring a wealth of experience, I bring a wealth of knowledge, I bring a wealth of contacts to the legislature, and I'm proud of vibrant 50-50.
Now, the outcome of the 2023 elections, especially from your district in Grand Crew, is an indication of your service, your stewardship during the first 6 years at the legislature. You were re-elected. In terms of governance of your district, what can you point to and say these are the reasons why my people re-elected?
I think there are certain things the constituents look for. Number one is consistent engagement with their lawmakers. When they are very jealous set of people. When they call you, they want you to answer the phone. When they come see you, they want for you to accommodate them. When they are in need, they want for you to assist them. They want for you to stay in touch with that district. For those of us from rural districts, I'm not talking about those urban districts, but for those of us from rural districts, it's the personal touch. We're able to add certain things to that dynamic, including the construction of 6 schools, the constructions of 27 handpoints across the district, the renovation of 2 clinics, and other projects, scholarships, and what have you in the district. I think that gave our people confidence enough to say we would like to see that lawmaker go back for a second time. And I must add that unfortunately did not happen to most of my colleagues in the 54. Most of them did not return.
I know all lawmakers have one constitutional responsibility, and that is what we usually term as their 3 oversight functions.
Mhm.
But is it the same, practically, comparing lawmakers who represent urban districts to those of you who come from districts afar? Is it the same? And if no, what are the major advantages or disadvantages of those who come from afar, someone like you who come from as far as the southeast?
Oh, I think the major advantage for my Monserrato County colleagues is to get to live and drive to work every day. They live in their constituency. For those of us to go back home, it's a chore. The southeast roads are not particularly the best, and so when we go home, and when we are home, we have no distractions. When I'm in District Number 2, Grand Crew, I don't have distractions. Only the people business that matter. If I'm in Sastown, my constituency comes there, I go to other parts of the district to try to mingle and talk with them. And as I said, we give them that personal touch. And I think that's one of the major advantages of us.
Good. Okay, I'd like to stay with the district deputy because success sometimes comes along with challenges.
Mhm.
So you wouldn't be successful when you do not have challenges at
Sure.
all. So I'd like to know what were some of the challenges, if there is any, that you faced during the time of the election.
During the elections?
Yes.
The elections occur during the rainy season. If you travel the southeast during the rainy season, you will see that it is the most treacherous place to travel. I traveled with 27 cars for the elections. 6 came back by ship. I had to end up flying out of Grances to come back for the second round. So the roads were challenging. I'm one lawmaker who chose not to use the Ivory Coast route. It just didn't make sense to me that as a lawmaker from Liberia, that I will be using another country to come in my country. So we braved the storm on the southeast roads. Okay, we experienced what our people experience, and then in the district itself, I'm very proud my wife and I got on one motorcycle with one rider. We're going from place to place. Sometimes in the rain, we crossed rivers. We rode on rafts. We did everything we can to meet our constituents where they wanted to be. As I said, the constituents are very jealous. Some people will sit behind 5 rivers and say, you know what, we are not going to Honorable Koffa. He needs to come to us. And you have to cross those rivers to get to those places. My Jula district is extremely challenging. So what we were able to do, we were able to reach the voters during the elections, left and right. And even the second round, when we did our voter education, we repeated that and we went to them, and so the numbers show.
Okay, you are less than a decade old in active Liberian politics, but you're flying high. You've made a lot of interventions in the life of your people over the years, in the Southeast, generally and particularly in Grand Crew. There's this godfatherism syndrome that is coming across Liberian politics. The question is, what does FONATI want?
No, so I'm not a godfather of anything or any place. What do I want? I entered this business with a genuine hope of public service. I gotta say to you, my own disappointment and my own frustration is what we signed up for is a lot of times not what we end up with, okay? Especially in this place, it involves a lot of compromises. It involves, like, I would have loved for us to do the Southeast roads during the first way administration. We took a gambit that there would have been a second administration, so to our people to wait. That did not happen. We expect President Boyka, who is also president for all Liberia, okay, we took on that mantle. I'm hoping that we can drive on that road one of these days so he can see the need that this road doesn't only benefit the Southeast, it benefits the entire Liberia, because Ivory Coast is the fastest growing economy in West Africa. You trading with Ivory Coast increases our gross domestic product and our economic activity. So that road to the Southeast, which is substantially a large population, is something very critical and very important. And I think the president-elect will see it that way when he assumes office.
Okay, thank you. There's a sense in which democracy tends to demand public officials to account for their stewardship, especially in a case where they are serving or after the service, or maybe in a particular case where they want to elevate to another level. And we are particularly concerned about what was done during your stay at the legislature.
Okay.
Basically, you first served as chairman of the House's Committee on Judiciary. We want to know what went on with the committee, what were some of the important advancements made before the plenary, and how did it impact the overall function of the legislature. Secondly, we want to know as to what was done by the office of the Deputy Speaker amid the controversies at the House to ensure that most of these very toxic policies for which the legislature is blamed out there by the public are resolved and the legislature is rebranded to a very good extent. Let's hear what you have.
Okay, so first of all, as chairman on judiciary, you are like the lawyer for your colleagues. One of the things we instituted very early when we came in is how we do our legislative committee reports when it comes to the issue of the judiciary committee. We wanted to make sure that committee, when we present reports to plenary, they have points of law, points of fact, and analysis on how the legislature should, how the House should review whatever instrument before it. The first thing. The second thing, we were successful in advancing a number of legislations. The first one, was the Liberia Business Act, which was a concept that, look, President Weah came in and said, we don't want Liberians to be spectators in their own economy. We need to develop this economy in a way that Liberian businessmen participate and Liberian businessmen gain. The unfortunate part of that piece of legislation, it got boiled down in lobbying politics from a lot of foreign business people. So it got watered down a bit, but we're still on that trajectory. We also tackle domestic violence issues. We tackle FGM issues. Oftentimes when you are the lawyer for these members, and one or two members were keen to remind me sometimes and say, Honorable, this is not a house of law, this is a house of politics, right? So you are navigating between the politics and the law when it comes to dealing with issues, in advising your colleagues on what is the legal approach and allowing them to make their political decisions within the confines of the law. And I think that's the semblance we brought to it. When you are deputy speaker, you're actually playing second fiddle. Okay, it is not your job to overshadow the speaker. You act in his stead, and oftentimes you see my performance by how I presided when the speaker was not here. Okay, I think a lot of people were able to distinguish my own performance, were able to review that performance, and some people came to respect that.
So follow up to that question, I was particularly concerned when you said the Liberia Business Act was brought down by lobbyists. Who were the lobbyists and to whom were they?
Okay, so this is a nation of vested interest. It is clear that we have in our retail sector a lot of foreign businesses. And to have a piece of legislation that is skewed towards just Liberians is threatening. So one of the things that was done during the consultation process was to look at it in terms of you don't want to marginalize your foreign friends, okay? So how can this legislation, this piece of legislation, be advanced in a way that create a dual system or a system in which one merges into the other? As a result of that process where the foreign merchants were consulted, Liberian business were consulted, and others were consulted, there was a watered down piece of legislation.
Okay, now let's transition from that. It is the public's to judge, but let's go to the 2023 general and presidential election.
Sure.
I know you played a very pivotal role in that process within the Southeast, but we firstly are interested to know what were your general observations of the election, and in the aftermath of the entire process, where one party won by a narrow percentage and was accepted by the president, what will you also say about where and how far our democracy has gone?
Okay, so my general observation about the process was, it was elections. You know, people hype their candidates, people hype their thoughts, people hype their behavior. But remember, this is the first elections we've had without foreign troops on the ground. This is the first elections we've had without substantial international participation. This was an all-Liberian election. It turned out to be one of the most peaceful elections we've had. The Elections Commission did well. And the fact that a president can concede to just 28,000 votes, even before the final results were leaked, it was almost like America. Okay, so I think we built from that. Okay, we built from that concession. As I usually tell people, the time for politics is over, the time for governance has begun. You're correct. With 28% margin between two candidates, you almost say it was a draw game, but somebody got to carry it, maybe on penalty, right? So then we have a particular responsibility now to unify and reconcile this country. I think Madam Salif, after the war, did well in making sure the trains ran on time in preserving the peace. I think President Weah solidified that peace. And I think it's incumbent upon President-elect Boyka, and looking at his continence and his record, there is no reason to believe that he will go anywhere else other than on the path of peace. And in developing a path of peace, in an era of a divided country, we have to reconcile and get a balanced government. And that's why the 55th looks to bridge that balance and become a body that will be able to work with the executive while maintaining its own independence.
Thank you. We just turn over to Obed Jiba, representing Halifem. So,
good morning again, Councilor Koffa.
Good morning.
Well, still at the electoral process, you won and you're back. Now think you become speaker. Two quick concerns. Most of the top officials in the CDC have been sanctioned. Would like to hear your initial reaction to that. And you've, of course, been accused of masterminding the defeat of the outgoing speaker, for Chambers. Can you also make clarity on that, about his defeat? You've been directly alleged that you instigated whatsoever that led to his defeat, and you also supported the process at NEC, so he cannot win the case. What can you exactly say to that?
Okay, on the question of,
No, sorry, Honorable Deputy Speaker. In the structure of our interview, no, we bring that. Okay, let's discuss the issue of the election. We want to be systematic, and so I'll take note of that. So at the end of the interview, we'll bring that to the judge's point. We'll let you have your few responses.
Okay, all right.
Okay, I guess this is unprecedented in our democracy that prior to the announcement about the National Elections Commission, the president conceded defeat. I guess it might have sent some chills in the spines of you members of the CDC, especially from the high level, considering that some of your plans were hinged on a second term. What do you think could have been done differently that would have led to the re-election of the CDC?
well, I'm not sure. I have often pondered that question, and as yet, I don't have an answer. It is clear maybe we should have paid more attention to what people were saying. The president's agenda, in my view, was not so antithesis to the agenda of the people that warranted the kind of vote in a closed election it was. Obviously, the people felt differently. And I think maybe a way to gauge the population, to gauge the Liberian people on what their actual thinking is, would be a mechanism that we employ. But I was surprised, you're right. And it is what it is. That's elections. Somebody wins, somebody loses. And I'm glad, I remember, I don't like to repeat conversations I have with the president, they are generally private. But I remember about 3 years ago, the president and I sat down with one other member at his house, and we were talking about, there was some either coup or election violence somewhere, and we were debating that. And we were even talking about our own upcoming elections in 2023 and controversies that come from that. And the president made a profound statement. He said, nobody is going to fight war over my business. The day the Liberian people say they don't want me, I'll pack my things out. And that is exactly what he did. And so while I was disappointed, I was not surprised. And I think he has set Liberia on a trajectory that it will be very difficult now for somebody to walk back the presidency. We have deconstructed in this country very successfully over the last 18, 20 years, the imperial presidency. It doesn't mean the presidency doesn't have power anymore. It does not have the kind of power it had before. And I am willing to bet, on a President Boycott, he will further deconstruct the imperial presidency because he's a simple person. All those trappings and all that power, you will see, he will devolve them to some of where they need to be. And some people will be surprised also. But this is a great time to be in this Liberian democracy. So I think with all of that, that is what Liberia is about. We've won, we've lost, we are governing together.
Deputy Speaker, I want to pick up on your word used, deconstructing the imperial presidency. That would mean allowing other branches of government to have the powers that's really given them by the Constitution.
Sure.
Especially the legislature.
Sure.
Over the years, public perception of the legislature has been that the legislature is rubber stamped, it dances to the whims and caprices of the presidency, and negative connotations out there in the public. Let me ask you this question. Is the legislature Liberia's problem?
No.
That's the general perception. Is
No.
the legislature Liberia's problem?
No, the legislature is not Liberia's problem. The legislature may be part of the problem. But I can tell you this, we in the legislature, we heard the Liberian people. When you have, I think Honorable Snow said about 53 of our colleagues did not come back. That's an astounding number, And my impression from the incoming 55th is these are people who are prepared and determined to work with the executive branch to carry on the president's agenda, but in an independent fashion and with vigorous oversight. If they do that, you will see government work, and you will see that with the executive branch and the legislative branch working cooperatively but independently of both branches, I think you will see that we have taken one more step towards the advancement of this democracy.
So, we go to General Congress.
Yes, okay, so I'd like to still be on the election campaign activities in the just ended 2023 election. You were in Grand Crew, crying President Williams' cry, crying the CDC's cry, and crying your own cry. But yet, you took out time to look at Facebook, listen to the radio, read newspapers. My question to you is, the activities that characterize our campaign during the just ended election, how do you grade those activities? Messaging. Do we need to improve, and where? As a national leader, a father, what are those things that you heard in the mouths of campaign spokesmen and the various policies for the various parties, and you think we need to improve on?
Okay, so I think social media, you're right, social media has changed the dynamics in which and how we conduct elections or how information is disseminated. That's the very first thing. No longer you have one conduit, which is the traditional press, disseminating information. And actually, both parties, all parties involved in the elections, took liberal use of the social media to propound their own messages. My own disappointment continues to be in you guys. Okay, as the traditional media, someone told me I never went to journalism school, but they say one of the first things they teach in journalism is who, what, when, and how. I think you'll have a mantra. Nowadays, all somebody have to say is Koffa raped somebody last night. And the first thing I get is, what is your comment to what that allegation I'm running with my story? The person who made the allegation is not asked to verify this allegation. It's not asked for any other thing. It's not asked the who, why, when. They just have to make an allegation. And that has now become the mantra. People just choose now to just throw allegations out. And you guys bite on it. Oh, what? You don't ask, you don't query the person who's making the allegation. You query the person who is being alleged against. That, we heard information that you did X, Y, and Z. What is your comment? Someone called me on radio live. I forgot what the issue was now. Called me live on radio on an allegation of a rumor. I guess when I finish with his audience on that. But I think there has to be some responsibility. And the local press, though, did very well, I must say, in disseminating the news and in controlling the balance of news. But I would say it would be good if we take it one step further. Because remember now, they call you the fourth estate. You are part and parcel of this democracy. Anything we do here in the 55th or anything the executive branch does, you are the one ultimately who are going to tell the people what happened. We ask you and we beg you in this, our democracy, to step up your game.
So let me just follow up quickly.
Sure.
Okay, so I'm one person who I'm a fan of peer review, and I also like people from other professions, criticizing the media, assessing our activities, the job that we do. But I'd like to ask you this question, Deputy. Most of us, not me particularly, but me in the media, I sit on radio and use unprintable words to refer to respected police society. We've got very good friends, politicians. And when we live on the radio, say, oh man, enjoy.
But what do you expect? Our politics is a crab syndrome politics. We call each other down. That's what we do. On the radio, and you are kind to me, other crabs will call you and congratulate you. That is unfortunate, but that's just the nature of the beast, of what we're in. That is what is despicable about the nature of what we are in. If it is not me, it must not be anybody. If Honorable Anders can make progress or Honorable Briggs can do this, let no one be able to do it. And that's why people are encouraged to slander their colleagues, and people are encouraged to say damaging things about their colleagues. It's just the politics.
In your earlier reference to the media, you cited an isolated situation where you seem to cast aspersion on the entire media, which I thought, which I thought not to be going.
Okay.
But On several occasions, I think we've called out individuals whose actions were diametrically opposed to generally acceptable standards, and that has helped our democracy to a very great extent, and you just bragged about the progress we've made in our democracy. How do you reconcile the expression you just cast on the media versus the praise you give to our democracy?
No. So remember, my last comment was the local press did well in disseminating the news and the views. I'm not casting expressions on you. I'm casting expression on the attitude where allegations are made, and without developing its foundation, it automatically gets pinned on a politician as an act that he has to defend. In the process, you have developed a system of guilty until proven innocent. And that's what I was talking about.
Okay, now we're at this point. Article 49 within the 1986 Constitution calls for the election of the Speaker, who shall have a 6-year tenure. And currently, the political tide at the Capitol is rising. From the look of things, the Speaker election has been narrowed down fundamentally to 2 names: you and Richard Nambekoun. And so, in the wake of the expressed desire to contest, the current Speaker, a few days ago, talked to the radio and drove a wedge down your throat, accusing you of undermining or masterminding his defeat by going into the district and taking out people and supporting the one who has been declared the winner by the National Elections Commission. He went on to also accuse you of representing the corporate interests of the Mountain, Maritime, Freeport, and lots of other companies, which could jeopardize your speaker position should you have the slightest chance to win the speakership. It appears as though there is an entrenched conflict, if I may be like a better word, between the both of you and the Liberian population currently grapples with the curiosity to have an understanding of what are the factors fueling the conflict.
Okay, so I have thought about that deeply. When I read that interview, the cruise out on it came out. And it's a good thing that comment was not made in Nukuta near Dixon Sibos' house. Otherwise, fighting was going to ensue.
Okay.
But I have had a few days, and I've had the opportunity to listen to my colleagues. One of the things in leadership is listening and making tough decisions, even ones that you don't want to like. And based on that, I have referred to the CDC National Chair the complaint of the Speaker on his allegations against him. I've asked the CDC to please investigate between the 2 of us to the extent so that we come to a rational conclusion on the Speaker's allegations, to which there were not much specificity. Undermining, there were some statements made. I haven't been to Plibo since 2017. I was at NEC. I've been at NEC every day. I haven't been to NEC since 2019 when the Sam Joe and Jerome Kobe administration left. Those are my friends. I used to go there most times to see them. I haven't been there. So we did our certification at Ministerial Complex. We did our registration at the sports complex. So I've had no reason to go to NEC, and I haven't gone to NEC now. There are 2 sets of leaders. There's President Weah, who concedes graciously to preserve the democracy. And then there's Hitler, who even after masterminding a world war, in the end, first he blamed his ministers, then he blamed his generals, then he blamed the German people. So defeat can be very traumatic. I'm not going to come here now and jump down the Speaker so he can be in world wars, right? If I do that, the Speaker will not benefit, I will not benefit, but the people who don't want me to be Speaker will benefit. So I'm not going to give credence to that. I have lodged that complaint with the party, and I will leave it at that. But the thing that is important that you raised is the conflict of interest issue. because it goes into the 55th in my leadership. There's not a day I have gone to the speaker, that I have gone to any colleague, or that I have gone on the floor to represent any interest other than the interest of Grand Group. I have not represented as a lawyer any company in this building. In instances, and there were two, B Mountain being one, where a lawyer does represent B Mountain at my firm. When their issue came up, I did not attend session. I was simply not there. If you look at Rule 45 of our rules, it calls for us to step aside when these conflicts exist. I have never, so I don't know where that came from, never one day stood as a lawyer for any interest here. Hasn't happened. Never. I don't know where it came from.
And so aside from that, do you in any way represent the interests of maritime, Asamoah, NPA,
HPX,
Central
NASCO,
HPX,
LPRC.
all of the institutions named by the Speaker of the House?
If I represented these institutions, I would retire. I would be very rich. The answer is no. Let me give you my history of practice law here. The International Law Group was founded in 2002. I went to the States. I resumed active practice in 2009 at the International Law Group. The concept was, okay, you have all these good lawyers representing all these great corporations. It's about time government parastaticals, okay, had good lawyers too. So I started to build a practice around representing government institutions, maritime, CBL, and others. In 2016, Madam Sharif appointed me as Minister of State. I immediately resigned as managing partner of the International Law Group. I gave my shares interest to one of my partners, okay? Since then, I have not been in the active practice of law. I don't have clients. So if I left the firm and they had maybe maritime and others, they would have continued. But when I checked with the firm recently, they no longer represent maritime. They no longer represent any of the institutions the speaker talked about, with the exception in labor cases at the CBL and LPRC. They have never represented NASCO. We have never represented ArcelorMittal. We have never represented HPX. We have never represented FPA. We have never represented panoply of institutions that have been alleged to have represented.
Could we stand on your information to say that the speaker falsified this information?
I don't know what the speaker did, but I will ask you to do one thing as a journalist. Go to those institutions and ask them, do you have a retainer with the International Law Group? If you do not, did you ever? And if you did, when did that retainer end? I think that's part of your homework. I'm not going to tell the speaker the falsified information. I'm going to tell you it's not true. We've never represented NASCO, okay? And certainly we never represented HPX or ArcelorMittal. It's simply not true, okay? I'm not willing to say he falsified or what he did. Again, I understand defeat can be very traumatic. I empathize with the speaker. I understand what he's going through. The need to blame somebody is fine. And I wholeheartedly would love to take the blame of the speaker, but I cannot, in taking his blame, okay, allow him to tarnish my reputation. That's the only reason why I would even answer that. Otherwise, the speaker has been making these allegations since November. I have never responded to them, okay? But when it comes to the issue of what lies ahead, will these institutions somehow have a play before the legislature favorably because I represent them? Never, never. One day came to my colleagues and said, I represent this thing and I want this to happen, or on the floor or before the speaker. I can remember only one incident. We were on the floor, Firestone was there, and I was advising the speaker on procedural matters. And the speaker asked me, do you represent Firestone? And we both laughed. I said, no, Mr. Speaker, I don't represent them. And I've never represented Firestone. That was the only conversation we've ever had in that regard. So, no, I don't represent them. I don't know where the speaker got his information from. He's an honorable gentleman, so I will only say he was misinformed.
Okay, we make progress for the speakership election.
Mhm.
Why does FONATI wants to be speaker?
In life, we progress, right? We came to this institution. We came with a school of ladies and gentlemen. We worked for 6 years together. I think we built a relationship, and they have invested in me the confidence of leadership for the 55th. It is on that basis that we are seeking the speakership, and I'm proud to say they have been joined by new members of the 55th to form a majority bloc that will produce the speaker of the 55th legislature.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, the Deputy Speaker role is not like the vice presidential role. I know the President-elect Worker, made this statement that has become very popular, race car park. I'm not too sure the Deputy Speaker role, comparatively, is the same as the Vice President role, where you basically just make instructions. I'm sure the Deputy Speaker has got some basic functions as per the rules of the House. What can we say about your time as Deputy Speaker, how you carried out those functions, and why should your colleagues in the 55th legislature entrust you with the bigger position of the Speaker?
You're wrong. You're wrong in the sense that you said the Deputy Speaker is not like the Vice President. The Deputy Speaker is exactly like the Vice
In
President.
the same way.
Yes, it's exactly like the Vice President. The Deputy Speaker only acts when the Speaker is absent. Okay? The reason why everybody says Deputy Speaker, Deputy Speaker, Deputy Speaker, because we're able to carve a certain prestige in the office of the Deputy Speaker during our time there, by our international engagements, by our national engagements, by the work we do in our constituents, and we highlight the role we play. Okay, that's how you saw it. But the Deputy Speaker is exactly like the Vice President.
Yes, Honorable Koffah, I'd like to know about your opponent, Honorable Richard Kuhn. Is he up to the task? Is the process competitive? What is his weakness and strength when it comes to the speakership election?
I've known Richard Kuhn to be a very fine gentleman. Other than that, I think you should ask Richard.
Okay, David, you are going for this speakership position, and there is this politics of the winner takes all. How do you navigate with the politics of the winner takes all?
Okay, that's a good question. But we're not in a winner take all environment, right? In 2017, President Weah won 14 out of 15 counties, right? In 2023, President Weah won 8 of the 15 counties, right? So we're not in a winner take all situation, and we are in a, I think, 1% or less, 1% margin of victory by the winning party. And I think all sides have observed, seasoned politicians have observed, that we're not in a winner take all situation. And a balanced government is what will serve the Liberian people. That's what they voted for. I think President Boyka is prepared for that. He's a reconciler and a healer. I don't think he is in a winner take all mode. I certainly have not gotten that signal from him. I have not gotten that signal from those close to him. But we will continue to observe.
Okay, thank you. Before we just take,
Okay. So before I ask my question, Deputy, as somebody who's been around the legislature for a number of years, I'd like to correct certain things first before I ask my question.
Please correct.
On this winner takes all thing, it's not true. In 2006, the winner did not take all. Mr. Selig was president. The president pro tem asking him for NDPL. When he left, Baba Lassana of the Liberty Party became acting president pro tempore. When he left Women Credit Wallace became president pro tempore. Elliot was still president in the mansion. When he left President Bafene, independent candidate became president pro tempore. When he left NPP, Amazuru Jara became president pro tempore. Ellen was still president. So that dispels the cliché of winner take all. In a house, in 2006, when Mr. Selig became president, Snow became speaker, and an MPP man who contested as an independent candidate and won. When Snow left, Taylor was elected as a member of the Action Party. He was never a United Party man. He only became United Party man in 2009 as a result of the merger between Action Party, Luke, and the original United Party. So that cliche got no ground. Now my question. My question is, they say you are a politician self-employed, meaning without border or across border. How has that attribute helped you in your political sojourn, and how well do you count on it for your future endeavors?
Okay, so thanks for the history lesson, because people always try to, for their own purposes, confuse issues. I learned very, very early on in my political career. I forgot which book I read. It said, "Politics is the art of compromise." Okay, there is no way that I know everything or should have everything, and therefore I have learned over my political life to reach across. I was a chairman of the Liberty Party when Ellen Saleh, because of our relationship, appointed me as Minister of State and entrusted me with a very important task. Okay, so it has not always been about absolute positions. For me, it's always been that we can find a compromise, because that's governance. In dictatorship, you get what you want, you do what you want. In politics, you compromise. It is in that compromise and reaching out to the other side, I think that have been one of my strong suits that my colleagues have recognized.
Okay, again, this program is being carried live by Joy 101.5 FM, ABC Radio 105.7, Prime FM 105.5, Hot FM 107.9, Voice of Liberia 104.1, and OKFM 99.5. I also don't want to forget about Bana FM. Bana FM is also carrying this live as well, and it's being streamed live by online platforms, KMTV, Vision TV, Front Page Africa, Golden TV, Freedom TV, Spoon TV, and Joy TV Liberia. Before we just move forward, I think we have to afford the listening audience the opportunity to share their thoughts with us, having listened to what we have been discussing. So the numbers are 0770 907 907, 0880 907 907. Be precise and straight to the point. Martina, are you there? Yeah, good morning. So please take our calls, 0770 yeah, so 907 907 080 for Lone Star subscribers, 907 907 the call lines. Do we have a call? Martina, are you there? Good morning. So please take our calls, 0770 yeah, so 907 907 080 for Lone Star subscribers, 907 907 on the call lines. Do we have a call? Are you there? So please take our calls, 0770 so yeah, so and so 907 907 080 for Lone Star subscribers, 907 907 on the call lines. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, caller.
Alternatively, use your number from here.
We will. Yeah, we just cannot hold it hostage. Technology still remains a fundamental challenge. Let's take these numbers from here. So you can call us on 0777 577 475, and for the Lone Star number
086603293.
So those are the numbers you can call. Alternatively, since the lines are not okay, 0777 577 475. Let's take our first call from Irresistible Pony. Pony, good morning. Good morning. You are live on Joy FM, ABC Radio, Prime FM, Hot FM, Voice of Liberia, OKFM, and Bana FM. And you are with the Deputy Speaker of the Republic of Liberia.
And like also a lot of questioning and querying, so I called to make my contribution as well. I like to thank the deputy speaker. Unfortunately, I don't have a voting right. If I do have, I would definitely want to having emerged. However, I have a fundamental problem with the deputy speaker. Am I alive?
You are live. Go ahead.
The deputy speaker have a law friend that is called public interest law group. That is his friend, a very outstanding friend. That's my problem with his friend. His friend has the public corporations contract.
You are live. You are
I
live.
think he has an clarity on the issue, not need to. Let's
Now, Pony, thank you. Let me hold you right there. Need I inform you that the information you received is not true. Part of our responsibility is to right the wrong. FONATI, and now listen now. The deputy speaker currently. Hello. The law firm you called is not in any way associated with the deputy speaker. If you followed the interview earlier on, he emphatically stated that he established the International Law Group in 2002 and he has since remained functional. And in 2016, when he was appointed Deputy Minister for State without portfolio, he immediately resigned and has never been in active practice. Thank you so much. Let's take this call from Rodney Wilson. Rodney, good morning. Good morning. Oh my goodness, we can hold the line hostage. Good morning.
Yeah, morning, sir.
Your name and where you call from, sir? Okay, let's hear you quickly.
Okay, let me say hi to the deputy speaker. That's a former man that I know. I remember the party election was going to go from local to anyone then starting at that time. So my concern is deputy you are contesting for the deputy for the speaker position. You have numerous of people that are suffering on your flat or in your flat that want to be the deputy speaker. So how are you reconciling to do the selection for these people that want to be deputy speaker?
Okay, thank you. Thank you. We'll hold you right there. Thank you. Let's take this call. Good morning. The former president of the press union, former vice president of the press union of Liberia, Mr. Otajin Williams. Let's hear you.
Well, I just want to ask a question to the deputy speaker because I listened to Jonathan's premise, and one of the premises I have ever performed when I'm having this conversation. It has been said by critics that the deputy speaker opting for the speakership is a order sedition, and we have said time immemorial is a cross politician. But my issue is psychological. And the deputy speaker was from CDC. It's been deeply fought continuously by the outgoing speaker from CDC. And at the same time, he's been bred outside as a order situation who will not accept a cross view. It's a psychological for him that the party whom he's bred and outside he's bred. That's my question. What do we stand on this and how do we respond to it?
Okay.
Inside house, the CDC criticize you, they fight you, outside you've been fight for CDC issue. How do you proceed with this? Is it not psychological for you?
Oh,
how you've been managing with it?
Thank you. Thank you. Let's take this call from this line. Well, good morning. Your name and where you call from, sir? McLean Renner. My man, let's go to the point. Okay, at the Senate Parliament on Kerry Street. Yeah, we'll tell he's listening. Okay. Thank you. Let's go to our next caller. Caller, good morning. Good morning. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. He comes across. He's borderless. In the world of Jerome, you are a political sans frontier. So let's take this call from here. Good morning. Good morning. This is Patrick Eastman. You are a journalist, so you have some preference here. Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, sir. Good afternoon, because the afternoon hours. Well, I'm concerned about the physical legislation where the Kofffa served as the deputy speaker. During the physical legislation, major sessions were interrupted by some police in terms of being disenchanted. What different will it be honor a FONATI KOFFA leadership elected speaker? And the next thing is, I wanted the deputy speaker to talk about, on one point that he recused himself, he left the session because his team of lawyers from his law firm were called. On one ground, he leaves session and he retired his license for his team for law firm.
Okay, I think the clarity will be provided. We will hold it at that and allow the deputy speaker to respond to some of the questions, and we'll come back to the telephone lines. So, Mr. Deputy Speaker.
What was his first question?
He asked the first question was about your colleagues.
Yeah. Okay, so let me start from the beginning. Mola, I think that was his name.
No, Patrick Eastman.
No. From the beginning, the first person, I think his name was Mola. He talked about deputy speaker. So when we envisioned building this block, we built it around the speaker leadership. Subsequently, there have been others within the block who have expressed interest in the deputy speakership, and they are allowed as a block to develop blocks within blocks, if you will, and to even reach out to people who are not members of the block to build their own blocks. So it's a progressive process. Will there be a time when, as a block, we develop a consensus candidate for deputy speaker? Perhaps. I don't know. We are still in the process of these buildings. So that's that. The second question from Octavian, I don't understand this thing. It's a coded sedition. What does that mean? I'm a member of the CDC. I bleed blue. The CDC has not wavered on its support for me. In fact, the CDC endorsed my speakership. Because we cut across does not mean we don't belong to a political institution. We belong to a political institution, and it is because we belong to a political institution that we cut across to bring others of like mind to be able to perform the task of the people. Colleagues and their behavior in session. Look, in any parliamentary body, you have a certain degree of rancor, right? But the public has had the opportunity to judge my leadership style in presiding. I don't think I've had, during any time that I've presided, any event so rancorous that we were not able to control it. I don't think it will be any different, but I don't think you will see the kind of rude, dramatic outbursts, because I think part of what happens in legislative debate is give everyone the opportunity to speak, give everyone the opportunity to put on the agenda what he wants to. That's your job as speaker. not to control what people want or what they want to say, but to moderate the flow so that every voice gets heard in a reasonable fashion. I think if you do that, you will find that you will have less rancor in the body. Okay, so I never said my team of lawyers have been called. There has been no lawyer that has been called from ILG before the legislature. But as a matter of principle, I know that B Mountain, one of their lawyers, is a lawyer from my firm. So automatically, that's my own self-policing. The rules don't require that. I left session. Same as UCI. My daughter is general manager over there. When their matter came, I left session. Okay? I do that as a matter of principle. Okay? I don't have to be there. I don't have to talk to anybody. I don't have to listen to anybody. I don't have to participate. So the lawyers were not called, but the fact that there was B Mountain matter that came on the floor, I walked out of the session because I did not want to participate. That is how I have behaved. And so I'm shocked that somebody would say I have come and have represented. The other thing is with Pony, that would make, when I tell people I needed to respond, some people say, oh, don't mind that, it's politics. Simply because these things get ingrained in people. If Pony was listening to the show, with all my explanation, he comes by and says, the men represent all the public corporation again. That's almost repeating exactly what I have just debunked. Go to these public corporations and find out from them. If I'm, other than the CBL and LPRC, if you find out we've done any work during my deputy speakership for any public corporation, then you can take issue with me. But I'm telling you, don't take my word for it. Go to these public corporations and ask them. And then ask my colleagues. I haven't gone to any one of them to say, I represent so-and-so corporation. Can you do X, Y, Z, or what have you? The maritime boss is a good friend of mine. Okay? He doesn't need to retain me for me to give him one or two legal advice when it comes to maritime because I work for them. I mean, I was retained for them in 2009, 10, and 11. Okay? No, I'm sorry. Yes, 2009 to 11. So my association with them, not only institutionally from institutional memory, also comes from my friendship. Eugene Amwe is my friend. So when you see him with me, it doesn't mean to say I represent him. The late Uram Cohen was a friend. Okay, I never represented him. Pierre Ntue represents Lister. So Uram Cohen was a friend. Okay, a friend who agreed when he died. When you see me with these people, you automatically assume I'm their lawyer. I'm not. I'm allowed to have friends. I'm allowed to have associates. So I just wanted to clarify those on the record.
Okay, thank you, Mr. David. Speaker, we'll go back to the telephone lines. We'll begin from here, 07775777475. Good morning, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you. Next caller. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm fine, thank you. You? That's it.
Coming out of the United States, that when he was there, he was involved with the fines of over 500,000, which led to incarceration, and not just that, the revocation of his license to practice in the United States. How can he actually address that?
Thank you. We heard you, and good afternoon. Good afternoon. The name of where you call from? Yeah, let's hear you.
speaker, FONATI KOFFA. I want to know those issues that have to do with the ideas and the laws. Which one he knows that I mean, it's not selling like a and if particular oppression comes to our children, many of whom use of rape, forcefully, and they are not naive anymore to the problem. And now they do test and we learn that the machine is a JFK. And it meant anonymous appears, but more than they want to fix them and so on and so on, the confusion. They don't know when will they put the machine in. Because what they have to come to rescue the men. Why is people so that they're not protected for the problem?
Okay, I think your points are well taken. We will just stop right there and go back to the deputy speaker to respond to these questions. We take one or two more calls, and then we go back into the interview.
Okay, so I think your caller from Cape Town talked about some 20-year-old story to be a client, which is a misnomer. No clients were duped. There was error in our trust account. And as usual, I take full responsibility for anything that happened under my watch at any institution during my watch. How the funds were managed while I was in Abuja at the Comprehensive Peace Conference, I have not asked anybody. I'm taking full responsibility for that. It's a 20-year-old story. But more germane, have I here in Liberia as a lawyer to any client? No. Have I here in Liberia as a lawyer acted in any way unloyally? No. Why are you worrying about America? Let's talk about my record in Liberia. And because they cannot find anything in Liberia, in the 20 years I have been here practicing law in public service, you got to go all the way to America 20 years ago. And I can't stop you, but judge me by the record that I have. Because as I said, I'm not a perfect person. I'm a public servant. And if my record as a public servant leaves something to be desired, then attack that record. Forget about 20 years ago in America. As for the rape machine at JFK, I'm not sure why I'm asked. I'm not an employee of JFK, but as a lawmaker, I will follow up as my oversight to find out what was the issue with the rape machine. And I will certainly then let you people know the answer to that, and you can inform the public.
Okay, thank you so much. We go back to the main issue right here. Now, during the course of the 54th legislature, we witnessed some massive reforms at the Senate, where the voting process at the Senate changed from a yea-nay vote to voting on the record. And so senators can go back to the Gazette of the Senate and say, I voted this way and that way, and the public can judge them by the record. Those reforms went on without the legislature following the steps of the Senate. We want to know as to whether your speakership is going to follow the norm of the legislature, but will be a fundamental and ideological departure from the norm. What is it going to be?
Okay, so I will send to you later on today my legislative agenda, or what we call platform. One of the things we want to do is bring the House into the modern regime. Not only because of the public, but for myself. Sometimes I'm sitting with my staff and I go back and I ask, how did we vote on this piece of legislation? And people struggle to remember. So even for myself and my own record, it's important that we come to digitalizing the House of Representatives by having voting that can be put on record. So we are for that. We also want to do infrastructure. The building we are in has not been renovated for so many years. And engineers tell me the rotunda may fall at any time. Okay, so those are things we want to institute. We want to make sure our colleagues have all of the access. We want to make sure that the institutions here work. We want to make sure that the 55th is a functioning body. And in order to do that, you have to have functioning institutions within the 55th legislature. So all of that, including electronic voting and more, we envision in the 55th to come.
Okay.
Just one last question from my end. You built this blog, very supportive. As a matter of fact, they've signed up to a resolution expressing their commitment to voting you as Speaker of the 55th legislature. You've come this far. My question is there any possibility that you can back up from this race at this point? Can anything be a reason for you to back up from it?
Well, because it's a broad question, I would say anything is possible, but it is not likely. Okay, you could name any number of things, some tragedy, but there's nothing political. There's nothing political. We build a block. We have synergized our thoughts on what we want. The block is solid. They say you can lie to people, but you can't lie to yourself. We see the numbers, we produce the numbers every day, yet other people are saying, oh, they're lying to you, they're deceiving you. Well, we'll see. Okay. People drive all the way to Ralphie, 38 persons, and they are deceiving. I want to see that kind of deceit. I just don't see it in these men and women of the 55th. The numbers are solid. We've been able to discount of the 47 persons we have discounted 6 as actually floating, and so we are still standing at a strong 41. I think when we get into the new year, we'll add on to this block because we are in discussions with several other persons to join us to make a strong and viable majority block of the 55th.
So in conclusion, because of time, because of time, I would like for you to respond to this talk publicly. Let me breach protocol a little bit and allow Jerome to
Yeah, please. Okay, as FONATI KOFFA, everybody knows you. And I'm not sure people who know you today, FONATI KOFFA, have any apprehension. But we see you as an executive of the CBC wanting to become speaker. Reasonably, will have some apprehension. How do you allay the fear for people from the other side? What kind of speaker will you be if you win, as expected by Honorable Member Chris Mesa and Jason Sibo? Will you be a combative speaker, over the powerful, very strong speaker, or executive friendly speaker?
No, but you have to ask, you have to look what in my record would define. I mean, I'm not somebody who's going to change overnight, but just start talking about CDC like some kind of disease. The CDC is a viable, vibrant political party, will probably be the majority party in the opposition. Because the CDC takes a position, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's necessarily wrong or combative. We believe in the party. We think the party will do well in the opposition. We think the CDC is not here to obstruct. The CDC rather is here to work with the administration and to do the job of the Liberian people. And remember, in the CDC block are a lot of independents and other like-minded persons. So it's not any kind of mentality or a mentality of doing the Liberian people business that we bring to the 55th. It is not even a partisan mentality.
Okay, we'll take the last question for Tatas Emmanuel Desi.
Yeah.
We go back to you.
Thank you, Ben. Deputy, the last time we checked, the House of Representatives ordered the living body of Samuel 12. And since then, I like to go outside a little bit because we are a lawmaker. And since then, we've not heard anything. What would be your position on this charge of contempt?
As the officer who presided when it happened, I don't know what has happened subsequently because I have not presided subsequently. I have not followed up subsequently. The order of the House remains the order of the House until it is otherwise expunged. And so I will check with the Sergeant at Arms and records of the House to find out what happened in that case. But I'm not in a position to overturn single-handedly any decision that was made by the House of Representatives.
Or can we go back to the Deputy Speaker for a final word? If you have.
Okay, before we depart, I would like for us, not necessarily to stand, but just bow for a few minutes to remember the late Madison Rion. He was our colleague. We served with him very briefly. He won his re-election. He was a man who was committed. He was a member of this bloc. We will miss him. So let's bow for a few minutes. Thank you very much. To close with your audience, my brother who lives in the States, this year visiting the country, and he said to me, this is the first time we've seen speaker election like this. Is it because of you? I said, no. It is because our democracy is growing. Our people want to know who is heading the first branch of government, because there have been a lot of talk about what's happening before. So this vigorous exercise is part and parcel of the game. What is also part and parcel of the game is the smear. Those who can win you by persuading or putting the platform are going to smear you. That is one of the things I have to prepare for. I have prepared my family for that. The next 2 weeks, after the new year, the first 2 weeks until the 15th, we'll see a lot of personal smear on my person. It has become part of the politics. I don't relish it, but it's a challenge that we will take. I'm glad that no amount of smear will sway our block. It's a solid block based on principles. And so for those who are preparing, and we have seen some of the work, and bring it on, we are prepared. So the people of Liberia, we say once again, the time for politics is over. The time for governance is here. Liberians yesterday welcomed back into the country the president-elect. There was a lot of elated faces at the airport, his Thanksgiving service. We wish him well. We are here and we are prepared to work with him. It is the Liberian people who is our ultimate desire and responsibility to see them prosper, and to see them peaceful, and to see them happy. That is our desire. If we do that in the next 6 years, we would have done our job. Thank you.
Voice of the Deputy Speaker, Honorable Councillor J. FONATI KOFFA. Thanks to Joy 101.5 FM for airing this, ABC Radio 105.7, Prime FM 105.5, Hot FM 107.9, Voice of Liberia 101.1, OK FM 99.5, and Ghana FM. And this is also being relayed by Voice of Grand Crew County, Radio Antenna, and Voice of Sasstown within the Southeast. Thanks to all of you. And the online platforms, KMTV, Vision TV, Front Page Africa Online, Golden TV, Freedom TV, Spoon TV, and Joy TV Liberia. Thanks so kindly. My name is Steve Benjamin Myers, and I've been here with 5 other panelists. It has been a good time. Do have yourselves a wonderful time. Bye-bye.